Hello and welcome back to the channel, guys, and to a slightly joyful but also very depressing video this week. Joyful because the whiteboard of truth is back, but depressing because of the topic, which is the massive price increases of electricity and gas for people's houses that we've already had and what is to come. You see, the reason I've decided to do this is because I've been speaking to a lot of people who I know personally, not necessarily through the channel or social media or anything. And if I'm being blunt, quite a few seem to be sleepwalking into what's coming up in terms of the sheer price increase of gas and electricity. I think is going to take a lot of people by surprise. So we've been doing some number crunching, and quite frankly, it's frightening on how much it's gone up in the space of a year. The main issue that some people, not everyone of course, are kind of, as I said, sleepwalking into this is probably the mainstream media, if I'm honest. Because, well, I call it the Daily Mail effect. It's the hottest summer on record this year, apparently, and people are going to die. It's also going to be the hottest winter on record this year, and people are going to die. It's also going to be the most expensive the fuel has ever been, and people are going to die. So I think people kind of think of it as white noise and tune out of the typically clickbaity headlines that stuff like that produce. So he's like, yes, I know it's going up, but probably not as much as they think. We'll be fine. But I think in this case, the exaggeration isn't too far off. The increases are very real and very, very big and aren't going anywhere for some time. So that's why I got the whiteboard out, because I think it's time to have a splash of cold water for us all and just to see how bad it's going to be. Now, if I'm being honest, we're probably going to be fine. Financially, we will weather this storm for as long as it lasts. We've got solar panels and a few other things which make life a lot easier. And, well, financially, it gets easier as you get older. I started work a week after I turned 16 and I haven't stopped through uni until now. My wife's pretty much been the same, and we're in our 40s now. When I say 40s, she's 25 still. But financially, traditionally anyway, you get more comfortable the older you get, don't you? So again, we'll be fine. But if I put ourselves back to when we first started out in life together, over 20 years ago, when we were living kind of from one wage to the next, money would come in and then it'd go straight out again. If what's happening today happened then, we'd be screwed, quite frankly. We would be in a very different position than we are now. And that's the frightening thought of it. It's not just a blip. This is going to affect a lot of people for a long time. Hence why I think it's worth giving a real world example on the whiteboard of truth. I've gone through some bills and given you some, well, real life increases in terms of what it's going to cost. It's also probably worth mentioning what's going on very briefly in this for those that aren't too up on it. Essentially, it's all down to the price caps getting reviewed and changing, and they change twice a year, March and October. So every March and every October now, the price cap either goes up or it goes down. Now the price cap is essentially the most a utility company can charge you for your gas and or electricity if you're on a standard tariff anyway. And when I say most, that doesn't mean you can use as much as you like and then you'll hit a limit. That's the most you will pay for each kind of kilowatt hour, as it were. So the more you use, of course, the more it will cost you. Now, the bills I've got aren't for me because the solar panels and whatnot just kind of screw that up. So Harry, who I'm sure most of you will know off the channel, he has given me his bills for the previous winter 2021. And we're going to use that to see what he's predicted to be for this winter 2022. Let me just fill all this in, off camera of course, so I don't waste your time. Yes, right, now you'll be happy to know if you watch all the whiteboard of truth videos that I've got a new pen now, so you actually read what I'm putting up. But I think just before I give you these figures, it's probably worth kind of saying why I think, without sounding too condescending, some people are sleepwalking into this significant issue. And I think it's all down to the fact that we've had a massive price increase. So from winter 2021, December, January, February, we've gone from that to a big increase in March. But March onwards is when the weather gets nicer, you get into summer eventually, and people use far less gas, far less electricity. So we've had a big price increase, but people use less. So I guess if you looked at your bills, it'd kind of look sort of even. It's like, oh, well, yeah, price has gone up, but it's not too bad. We can weather the storm. But then what happens is in October, the price goes up again significantly, and people use a lot more because it's going into winter. And when we get into winter, you've had 2 price increases and your usage goes high because you've got the heating on and so forth. So it's like a double punch almost. You've gone from price increase but low usage to another price increase and back to high usage. And that's where it will really sting. Now, in March, it went up massively, as I said, the price cap. In October, the prediction is, and I'm pretty certain of this one, it seems to be coming from many different sources, that it's going to go up, and I've had to refilm this video because it changed a couple of days ago, but it's going to go up 77% on top of March. So, big increase in March, and then another 77% on top of that. That is a lot. I think everyone will know, well, that sounds a lot, but what is it in real terms? That's essentially what we're doing here. So, the bill that Harry got for his house, and bear in mind that he's got a relatively modern house, there's just him and his daughter pretty much, and during the week, during the day, it's empty because he's at work. So relatively low usage, and also it was quite a mild winter in 2021. But for those 3 months, December, January, February, essentially we'll call it 90 days, he paid £405 in 2021. So we've used the predictions of the March and October price increases to now try and extrapolate what this winter's bill will be. Feel free to pause the video right now and see if you can guess what that is. No cheating, don't fast forward the video. It's going to go from £405 to £1,085. 405, 1 year, and just 12 months later, 1,085. That's for 3 months worth of bills. In winter, granted, when it's at its most, but that's a big increase. Rounded off, near as damn it, that's 165% increase in 1 year. Again, when you look at the mainstream media of people saying, well, there's going to be people sat there with no heating on, freezing to death, and it sounds kind of clickbaity, headliney, but it'll be true. I mean, it's the UK in 2022, and people will be sat at home without heating because of, look at that. I mean, that's not cheap, but for winter, I guess it's not too bad. Imagine if you're a family of 4 in a Victorian property or something that's not that well insulated. That's going to be way higher. It's going to turn into one of those where your fuel bills, your gas and electric bills, like when you get one of those one-offs that kind of catch you by surprise. Do you know when you're kind of looking at your bank balance and you're going, oh, it's not too bad this month. I think we can afford to go out a few times. Oh, hang on a minute, it's the car insurance, isn't it, this month? Oh, God. And then all of a sudden that takes all your money away. That's what it's going to be like every month for a lot of people just because of that. How can you figure out your bill, or at least predict it? Because it is a prediction. It's averages, of course. Well, again, going off what we've found, the price of electricity is on average going to be, and this is assuming you're on the price cap, of course, 50 pence per kilowatt hour, 50 for electricity, and I believe it was 15 pence for gas. Can't believe I'm saying that. Now, this was 48 pence according to the predictions, but again, as I said, it's been revised a day or two ago, so I think that is going to be very accurate for the price cap, if you're not on a fixed deal or anything like that. Gas, I've put a little bit on that one. I think it might be a bit lower, 13-14 pence, but let's give ourselves a buffer here. I'd rather overestimate how much something's going to cost rather than underestimate it. But yeah, what you need to do is get your bill from last December, January, February, and look at how much you used in terms of kilowatt hour. So the electricity bill should say you used, I don't know, 500 kilowatt hours in December, and then you'll have used, I don't know, 450 in January, and then do February, and then effectively you just times however many kilowatt hours, let's say 1500 times 50 pence. Then do the same for gas, 15 pence times however many kilowatt hours you've used. Add on your standing charge, which I think is going to be easily 50p per day. So just to make it easy, let's do 50 pence times 90 days. This includes everything, I should point out. Oops, just mark that off. VAT, standing charge to the lot. Look at last year's bill, stick these figures in, and then see what it spews out the other end. If you think, I'll be all right with that, I can afford that, brilliant. If you can't, then, I mean, all I've been saying to, well, like my mum and dad, for example, they're both, pensioners now, they're retired, living in a flat. Hello, Mum. Oh, by the way, if you're watching, when this makes a noise and you're not around, you need to look at it so you know someone's wrong. Just thought I'd put it out there whilst you're watching this. But what I've told them and what they've now done is increase the amount that the utility company takes out today. Well, I think they did it a month or so ago. So you accrue at least a bit of credit. So when you get to the winter, it's not a major hit. It's not a huge debit mountain that you're going to have to climb. Of course, not everyone will be able to do that. And this is the scary thought. A lot of these figures, or at least some of these figures, were mirrored by Martin Lewis, the money-saving expert. I think most people will have heard about him. And he's very good at what he does. But when he comes on TV and says, I've been doing this a long time, 15 years, telling people how to save money, little tips and tricks on, like switch to this deal or do this and you can save some money. But he says, after all this time, this is the worst I've ever seen it because I've got no more tools or tricks, no more ammo to give people to save money when it comes to the gas and electricity bills. There's nothing out there I can do to help people. It's the worst it's ever been. So when he says something like that, among other people, of course, it really is, a crap time, quite frankly, and it is as bad as a lot of the mainstream media are making out. Now, to depress you even further, if you're thinking that this is going to be a blip, again, it's not. So let me just wipe this out and show you what I mean. Right, now this isn't to scale or anything, it's just to highlight a point, and I think it'll do. So let's imagine this is winter just gone, so 2021 in winter, and the price was, well, it had gone up a bit, but it was relatively normal. So what effectively happened, let's imagine we started down here, is that when we got to March, we had a significant price increase. And we got to March. And then in October of this year, we'll be getting, again, that 77% massive price increase again. So all of a sudden, we've gone up a lot. Now, about here? So you're thinking, right, well, once we get this winter out of the way, we'll be all right. But the current predictions for March, which is the next time the price cap will be looked at or will change, whether it goes up or down, the predictions are it will effectively stay about the same as October. Might go up a few percent, but let's assume it stays the same. So that means that, and I don't know what the predictions are, quite frankly, for October 2023, but the first price cap that can actually go down, that we know of, will be October 2023. And it's not going to go down, we're not going to get this drop off when it does start to get cheaper. We'll probably just get a gradual one to the point where it stays at something like 30p from now on. It's the new normal, dare I say it. So essentially, even if it does go down a little bit in October, we're looking at then March 2024 before we get any noticeable drop off. I hope I'm wrong, I really do, but that's pretty much set in stone now. That's probably fairly accurate, which again means we've got 15 months of 50p and 15p-ish before it even thinks about going down. It's not a blip, is this? Clearly. It's staying for a while. If you're already close in terms of how much money you've got coming in, again, if I put myself back to when we first started out in life, if we were in that position, I don't know what would happen. It really is, and I've said this many times that night, it's a scary thought. So, there we go. I think I'll end it there. I'll try and do as many videos in future as to what we've done to this house to make it cheaper to run. Won't be relevant to everybody, of course, but we can do what we can do, can't we? So, yeah, please do use the comments section below to tell people, and everyone else will kind of group the data together and tell us what you used last December to this December, so we've got a fair idea of, you know, what's the real world increases for everyone out there. I'd like you to subscribe and all that sort of nonsense, but I think you've got other things on your mind, maybe. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.